This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Students for Sensible Drug Policy, the most effective agents of change in the world of drug policy reform. If you're a student, you should join or start a chapter of SSDP at your school. If you've aged out of the student set, you need to be supporting SSDP with some of your hard-earned money every month to power their ongoing fight. To do either or both, or just to learn more about all the positive things SSDP is doing for the world, swing over to ssdp.org. That's ssdp.org. Hey, also make sure that you get out and vote today. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, November 7th, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 368 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is a quick one, as yesterday the Maine state legislature failed to override Governor Paul LePage's veto of a proposed bill outlining how a commercial adult use sales system would be set up. The vote of 74 to 62 in favor of overturning the veto in the state house was 17 votes shy of hitting the required two-thirds mark of the number of lawmakers present. This doesn't change the fact that it's still legal for individuals to grow, consume, and give away cannabis, but it does mean that the rollout of adult use dispensaries is going to be kicked down the road a bit. As it stands now, the language of the ballot measure passed in the fall stands, though a statewide moratorium on adult use sales remains in effect until February. It's likely that moratorium will be extended somehow once state lawmakers reconvene for their next regular session in January. Jumping a couple of states down from Maine, we have news out of Massachusetts that a proposed bill being considered in the state house would allow people with certain kinds of marijuana convictions on their records to have them expunged. Those eligible are folks hit with marijuana possession charges that don't involve other crimes like theft or assault. The bill that was introduced on Monday has a broader scope than just cannabis, allowing for people who maintain clean criminal records for a decade to have their crimes wiped from their slate, as well as youthful offenders with single convictions made between the ages of 18 and 21, and people with charges for crimes that are no longer crimes, as is the case now for possessing marijuana. The state Senate has already passed its own version of a criminal justice reform bill, so if the House is able to pass its version, they will both be sent to a conference committee for merging. We'll report back on any progress made. And finally for today, Alan Brochstein over at New Cannabis Ventures picks up on the first of his site's third stories on today's show with the news that IBM has proposed an idea to use blockchain technology to track legal cannabis in Canada from seed to sale. This one's notable for a couple of reasons, from the fact that it's cool that IBM is okay with the idea of getting involved in legal cannabis to their actual proposed solution. For those who are unfamiliar with blockchain technology, it's the underpinning system that supports so-called cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. It relies on a public ledger that's continually being updated in real time as various transactions are made between involved parties. IBM recently submitted a 3-page proposal outlining how they'd use blockchain technology to track legal cannabis as it moves from cultivator to processor to dispensary. Definitely a good one to click over to. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Students for Sensible Drug Policy. I think it's fair to say that legal marijuana would look very different today if it were not for the existence of SSDP, which has created tens of thousands of super effective and passionate alumni who have spawned out into the world of drug and marijuana policy reform, regulation, and business. There's no better place to donate your hard-earned money to in terms of effecting major positive change in cannabis and drug policy reform. And if you're a student, you need to join up or start a chapter at your local school so that you can become one of those badass alumni, while also doing a lot of great things along the way. To learn more about Students for Sensible Drug Policy, just open up ssdp.org. That's ssdp.org. All right, time for the Blitz. Marijuana Business Daily's chart of the week shows the hugely strong growth seen in Florida's medical marijuana patient population count as it's risen from just under 17,000 people in early June of this year to a touch under 47,000 as of late last month. Eli McVeigh nicely packs up some good insights on Florida's medical marijuana system, along with the chart that's totally worth the click over. With the second of 3 headlines today, New Cannabis Ventures has a really insightful read on the impending takeover of the Canadian cannabis industry by larger business entities from big tobacco, alcohol, and pharmaceutical firms. While the article specifically talks about the Canadian market, which just saw an enormous acquisition of Canopy Growth Corporation by Constellation Brands, an alcohol conglomerate known for Corona beer, the advice is certainly applicable to U.S. markets, which will also see an entrance of big booze, tobacco, and pharma at some point in the not-too-distant future. Click over and give this one a full digest. As San Francisco's Board of Supervisors works to craft a policy allowing for adult-use sales to take place in the city after January 1st, there's a lot of criticism being thrown around for how they're proposing to do it. On Friday, State Senator Scott Wiener, a former San Francisco Board of Supervisors member himself, posted his thoughts on Facebook, accusing the current board of trying to ban cannabis by, among other things, requiring a 1,000-foot buffer between dispensaries and schools, even though the state law only requires 600 feet. The full suite of proposed zoning regulations will go before the full Board of Supervisors at a meeting on November 14th. The state of Massachusetts is looking to hire an agricultural inspector with expertise in cannabis and current state marijuana laws. The state's Department of Agricultural Resources just posted a job on mass.gov describing an opening for an inspector in charge of making sure that legal cannabis cultivation operations are within code. The full-time position offers a salary range between $42,000 and $58,000 a year and requires that applicants have a bachelor's degree or higher in agronomy, biology, chemistry, plant pathology, entomology, or a related field. Click over to NBC Boston to find a link to the job posting on mass.gov if you think you have what it takes to be the state's next marijuana cultivation inspector. Marijuana listing company Leafly just hired a new CEO, tapping Chris Jeffrey as their new corporate leader. Mr. Jeffrey previously started up a company called OrderUp, which built an online food ordering system and that was eventually acquired by Groupon in 2015. A study recently published in the journal Prevention Science found that marijuana usage rates by young people ages 12 to 17 did not go up as more states started allowing for the legal use of medical marijuana. The study, conducted by researchers at Columbia University, did find that more people ages 26 and older were using marijuana and that the frequency of daily use rose in males ages 18 to 25. And finally for today, the state of North Dakota just released a proposed plan for its medical marijuana system. The plan, posted to the state's website yesterday, lays out a long timeline for implementing medical marijuana, offering a best-case scenario of patient access starting up sometime later next year, or just about 2 years after voters first passed a medical marijuana ballot initiative. Given that there are many states out there now with well-run medical marijuana systems, that 2-year delay is causing some folks in the industry to ask why it would take North Dakota so long to implement its own program. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at MJTodayDaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Students First Sensible Drug Policy, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.